Jacksonville's three top leaders addressing the recent surge in crime. Today, News4Jax sat down with the mayor, state attorney, and sheriff to ask about the city's violent trend.
By our count, there have been 148 homicides so far this year and 466 people shot. Those numbers are on pace to significantly surpass last year's totals. Our News4Jax reporters are covering these troubling figures and how the community is reacting. We begin with Vic Micolucci, who spoke with the three leaders and is joining us live from downtown. Vic?
And Tom and Mary, they acknowledge those numbers are staggering and downright disturbing, but they say Jacksonville is not the wild, wild west. In fact, most of the streets are safe. There are just a few people behind a lot of the violent crimes, and this is one of those examples. 9 violent criminals who they say are behind more than a dozen homicides, most likely many more. A surge in violence in Jacksonville's streets, from Northwest Jacks to Arlington. Homicides and shootings are up across the board in 2020.
Very, very frustrated. But we have to, as the sheriff and state attorney said, acknowledge that these are long-term investments.
Today, we sat down with the mayor, state attorney, and sheriff to talk about their response to a bloody year.
We're at 148 homicides in Jacksonville. 119 of those would be considered murders. At least 466 people shot. So we've already shattered the record of the number of people shot from 2019. Why are the numbers so high?
Nobody can really put their finger on what's driving that, but you've got increases across the board nationwide. And, we have a 20% increase in homicides. We've got about a 20% increase in aggravated battery. We've got a 40% increase in overdose deaths.
Since taking the helm, they've brought gunshot detection technology, built a unified gun center, hired more officers, targeted prosecution for violent criminals, and poured money into community programs like Cure Violence. But the shootings continue.
Our neighborhoods are not the wild, wild west. Unless you are involved in the drug trade, around the drug trade, gang activity, around gang activity, the likelihood of you being a part of one of these murders is pretty low.
The sheriff announcing 8 arrests from a violent drug trafficking group. 1 remains wanted. They're linked to at least a dozen recent murders.
A lot of us were out there at these crime scenes in Arlington. Nobody wanted to talk to us, and it's not that they were being rude, it's that they are scared to death of retaliation.
So yes, it's hard for our prosecutors. It's hard for police officers who are out there canvassing, trying to put a case together. When we talk to people, as you do when you go to those scenes, and people say, I didn't see anything. And we know they did.
Also this afternoon, the sheriff, the state attorney, and the mayor announced a gun bounty program like what we had in years past. Here's how it works. If you live in the community and you know someone who has illegal possession of a firearm, maybe a convicted felon with a gun, maybe they have a stolen gun, whatever it is, you call First Coast Crime Stoppers at 1-866-845-TIPS. You give an anonymous tip, police investigate, and if they make an arrest and recover that firearm, you get $1,000. They hope that will help encourage people to come forward to do the right thing and get some of these criminals and the weapons off the streets. We're live downtown at City Hall. I'm Vic Micolucci, Channel 4, the local station.
Thank you, Vic. Community leaders in Jacksonville are also responding to the higher crime rates, and News4Jax reporter Kelly Wiley is live outside the jail. Kelly.
And we sat down with community leader Ben Frazier after Vic's interview with those 3 leaders, and he tells us that he feels they're not getting down to the core reason for the crime in these areas. He believes it centers around poverty. Now, according to our count, the uptick, it's been a 19% increase in people being shot in Jacksonville from this time last year to now. One thing that Ben Frazier did respond to that was in this interview with Vic was Melissa Nelson's response to people not talking to them at crime scenes. She particularly said that people will say they didn't hear anything or they didn't see anything and they know they did. That's what he's responding to here right in this clip.
I think that is a part of the issue, as well as a lack of trust, transparency, and accountability on the part of law enforcement. All the surveys show that when it comes down to trust, the black community in Jacksonville, according to Michael Banger in the University of North Florida's Public Opinion Poll, clearly indicates to us that there's a lack of trust between the black community and the police department. People don't want to talk to the police because they don't trust the police.
And Mr. Frazier also talked about trying to get together with the sheriff, the mayor, and the state attorney's office. He says they've had meetings before, and the next time they meet, they do have certain things that they want to work on them with together. Coming up at 10 and 11, we're going to lay that out for you. Reporting live in Jacksonville, Kelly Wiley, Channel 4.